Hello and welcome to Premodern Slithers versus SLIGH. But before we get into the video, please do let me know what you think of these. If there's anything you'd like me to add or change, it really helps me to improve the videos and I really appreciate it. There's currently a few things like the sizing of the gameplay that I'm really looking to improve. And speaking of videos, I do make a lot of deck tech, so if you'd like to see how these decks work, please do check my channel. I'm playing the SLIVERS deck, which in this matchup will be looking to survive for as long as possible with its removal, or just create an absolute wall of slivers with Crystalline Sliver, giving them untargetability so they can't be burned away, or just a combination of slivers that give stat boosts so they're just huge and very fast. And my opponent will be looking to control the board with burn spells, killing all of my creatures, until I'm just at a low enough life total that those burn spells can start going towards my face and finish me off. And in game 1, unfortunately I have to mulligan to 5. The mana base in the Sliver deck is really terrible, so sometimes you do have to just mulligan a hand that, if the deck had good lands, you'd be able to keep. And opponent with the bauble here, he gets to look at a card from my hand, it's not reveal, so I have to close my eyes and look away while I show him. So luckily now I watch this afterwards, it's just the card that I'm going to play anyway. And I have cut out the searching and fetching with fetch lands here just to speed everything up. Also, apologies that it's a little hard to see what the cards are on the red side. Sometimes the connection just isn't so good and yeah, it's a little difficult. Luckily in the red deck, basically all of the cards just either burn, deal damage or something like that. So luckily it's not too confusing. So here I take the Bolt because he just has one land and it's just going to slow him down absolutely loads. Unfortunately though, he does draw a second land, which yeah, we see here, and double Lavamancer, which is just super strong against my deck, especially on a mult of 5. I need to get Crystalline Sliver in play as soon as possible because, you know, otherwise those Lavamancers are just going to absolutely rip apart all of my creatures. Slivers in general are very small when they're by themselves. They just get much better the more you have. So the fact that he can just already start picking them off, it's really not going to be good for me here. And yeah, that's exactly what we see happening. So luckily I do have all of my mana available now. Ideally I would love to drop a Crystalline Slither now, but unfortunately don't have one. And yeah, with that mulligan I'm just completely out of resources. My hand with double duress would have been excellent against another deck, but just against SLIGH here I'm just really lagging behind. Luckily I have the plow for the ball lightning, but just yeah, opponent absolutely dominating here. So again, I think about what to do. I have a creature, but there's no point really playing it because it's just going to die straight away to those Lavamancers. And yeah, opponent attacking in again. So I did draw another Swords to Plowshares, so I can at least kill one. At this point, you know, it's really looking bad because he has the Fire Blast. And yeah, at this point, I just have to play out a creature. I know it's going to die straight away, and I'm going to lose value on that, but I just can't do nothing. And opponent attacks for 2, so effectively I'm at 4 life, and you know, opponent has way more than 4 damage in play, and I just concede. There's no way I'm winning that. In sideboarding, I bring in 3 Blue Blasts, which is really good in this matchup, and 2 Engineered Plagues. Actually, I forgot to put Worship in my sideboard, so some of those Blue Blasts, if not all of them, should be Worships, which in combination with Crystalline Sliver is absolutely brutal. Unfortunately, I do have the Blue Blasts here, but they're still decent. I took out 4 Duress. I actually only took out 1 Winged Sliver because I only put in 2 Engineered Plagues. The Plagues are much better than the Sliver for killing Ball Lightning. In this matchup, flying doesn't really do anything, so Winged Sliver is just a 2-mana 1/1 basically. Duress is an okay card, but it's just not as good as Blue Blast. And going into game 2, I'm on the play, start with a land and just pass. So opponent, again, I've cut the fetching out here. Opponent has quite a slow start with Mog Fanatic. You know, it definitely could be worse. I'd rather see that than Jackal Pup. So here I float some mana and have a Muscle Sliver. So, yeah, this is a good counter to what my opponent's doing. Unfortunately, his deck is entirely burned, so there's an Incinerate. Again, apologies, it's hard to see what the opponent's cards are. Essentially, if you don't actually know the cards from the pictures, you can just assume that it's a burn spell and you'd be right the majority of the time. So here I don't play anything because it's opponent's turn 3 and I just need to keep up removal for Ball Lightning. I actually also don't have any creatures, I just have lots of land in hand at this point. Luckily I'm only taking 1 per turn, so I don't need to use my removal yet. My life total is still very high. So we've actually both drawn quite badly at this point. There's another Mog Fanatic from opponent, so again another slower creature. Still a good one, but you know, definitely I'd rather see that than something like Jackal Pup or Grim Lavamancer. I have Crystalline Sliver here, which is one of the best cards in this matchup. Now he can't burn any of my creatures, and he also can't really attack through it because it's bigger than his. So that was an amazing draw, and it's going to start getting me back in the game, especially considering my hand is full of removal. So here comes the Ball Lightning, which again, as I said, I have removal for. So at this point, I'm starting to feel confident, especially as I now have a Muscle Slither, so every Slither that I draw now is going to be good. So yeah, things are really looking up for me here. I'm starting to turn it around. Opponent does still have a lot of cards in hand, so you know, against SLIGH, you can never really count yourself in a good position, especially as opponent has Price of Progress, which, you know, it does 2 damage for every land in my deck that I have in play. So here it would do 10 damage. So I just have to pray that he never draws one of those. And you can't see this is off screen, but he's just throwing bolts at me. You know, with that Crystalline Sliver in play, there's no point in saving them for my creatures. And he goes for the Fire Blast, which actually would be lethal here, but luckily I have a Blue Blast to save myself. Again, that should have been a Worship, which would have actually locked him out of the game a few turns ago. But, you know, still a Blue Blast is still decent there. And I'm thinking about his clock and what's in his deck, and you know, because I'm essentially racing here, so I have to figure out how to kill him as quickly as possible while taking as little damage as possible. So it's a little bit complicated with my mana base and the creatures I have, and also because any creature that I draw can potentially pump all of my creatures. So I also need to consider the chances, you know, that I have still quite a few cards in my deck that can just buff my stuff up. Obviously, Slither Queen or Blue Blasts are some of my best draws here. Engineered Plague would also probably be quite nice to take out all his goblins. So opponent attacks me for 1 because I blocked 2 of them. So I'm at an effective 3 life here. I assumed I was dead, but luckily he didn't have the bolt. Now I absolutely have to kill him as quickly as possible. So I have to do some maths here because, you know, he has Shock in his deck, which deals 2 damage. If I attack with everything, he puts me to 2. So, you know, I have to think about that. But at the end of the day, you know, he has fewer shocks than cards that can just kill me. So I figure it's better to just attack with everything, put him on a 2-turn clock, and then, you know, hope that he just doesn't draw it for 1 turn. If I give him 2 turns, there's way more chance that he'll kill me, even if there's fewer cards in the deck that actually do it. So he draws, and luckily it's one of the worst draws he could have had, something that just does absolutely nothing. He attacks me down to 3, and yeah, then concedes. Shows that he had a ball lightning in hand and mountain after that. So yeah, I definitely made the right decision there, attacking with everything. Game 3, I kept the sideboard exactly the same. Opponent's on the play here, so I'm just very, very worried that I'm going to lose this one. I feel like this is not a good matchup. And fetch land into mountain, into Cursed Scroll. This is the kind of start that I would really like the opponent to have, because it's just the slowest start in his deck. Cursed Scroll is very good against my deck, but it's just so slow here that I think I can race it and also get stuff that will nerf it in play before he can get it active. So here I have a Muscle Sliver which turns off the Cursed Scroll. So I'm definitely thinking, should I play Muscle Sliver or should I just hold removal up for Ball Lightning? In the end, I hold removal up for Ball Lightning because actually my hand is very, very good. And I think the only way that I'm going to lose this is if I just die to a Ball Lightning or something. Here, the burn spell on my face, I was quite surprised about. I guess opponent just had a lot of very heavy hitting cards in hand. And I was also lucky there that he saw the card that I was going to play next anyway. So it actually worked out well for me. I didn't play it because, you know, obviously that was getting burned straight away if I'd played it before. But against Sly, you know, yeah, of course, there's always more burn. So it was going to die anyway. I feel like I'm speaking super fast when I'm talking over this video. I mean, that really goes to show how fast the Sly deck is. And again, Lava Monster, this card was brutal in game 1, so gonna plow that straight away. So this is the first game where I really felt like my hand is good and my mana base is good and I'm in quite a dominant position because of my opponent's slow start. But again, against Sly, you can never really that far ahead because they always have price to progress, Ball Lightnings, all these horrible things that can just do huge amounts of damage in one go. So here he named Ball Lightning, so I know, okay, he's got 2 Ball Lightnings in hand. Also, you notice here I only have white untapped. I have a plow in hand. I really think he should have balled me there because, you know, giving him 6 life is huge. So I was super lucky that he didn't do it there. So originally opponent was going to shoot the multicolored one here, but then when I pointed out it's a 2-3, he decided to shoot the white one instead. So I'm super worried that he's going to start nerfing all my creatures and, you know, killing them off. If this game goes long, then he's probably going to win with all those burn spells. So I used the whatever this multicolored one is called to return it to my hand. So I pay 2 life to return it. Then he takes 2 from the attack. And now I'm going to figure out how to play all my stuff again without taking damage. So yeah, I was super lucky there that the opponent didn't attack when I only had white available. He did say he's quite new to this deck, so I guess... And also Slivers is a really weird deck, so... You know, that's something that I think you can't really account for. I could have had anything at that point. So here I do think this is the turning point of the game. So opponent plays Ball Lightning into my 1 open mana, attacks, I go to 9 and I bolt it. Then he plays another mountain. So we know his other card is Ball Lightning. And I just have to think, if he'd attacked me with 2 Ball Lightnings, I could only kill 1. You know, I would be on 3 life here, and then he'd have an active scroll. So I really feel that actually would have been game over. So I was extremely lucky that opponent decided not to do that. So now I'm just trying to kill him as quickly as possible. I guess from opponent's side, he wanted to get extra value from his scroll, and he thought maybe... You know, I've used a lot of removal already, so I probably don't have another one. Except I do have another removal for this Ball Lightning. So yeah, I mean, that just really worked out badly for the opponent, because actually I would have been dead already by now if he'd done that. Or I believe this activation would put me to 1, and then he could untap and just kill me. So yeah, again, I was very, very lucky. And you can really see how bad the wing slivers are here. It's literally just a 2-mana 1/1. It's probably the worst card that I can draw, apart from a land. So yeah, if the opponent had played 2 balls and attacked me, then I would actually be dead here. So anyway, I realize I just have to kill the opponent as quickly as possible, because he has so many cards that can just kill me straight away from here, like Ball Lightning. He never drew a Price to Progress, which is super unlucky of him. There's just so many cards that have me dead here. And he reveals a Mog and then plays it, so this is actually lethal, but luckily I have a Plow on my own creature to gain some life. And then next turn I can attack for the win. So yeah, GG's 2-1 to Slivers. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.